I'm doing ACA 1. It's a constitutional amendment to lower the voter threshold from 2/3 to 55% for infrastructure and affordable housing. This bill is so important because it gives the opportunity for cities or counties or special districts to determine projects they want in their community. And they can run a bond, but there's a lot of guardrails that we have. For instance, if you needed a new fire department and let's say a new sewer system, the city council could determine if we're going to run a bond, but they have to have specific rules on that bond.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sacktown Talks. Today we're glad to be joined by Assemblywoman Cecilia Aguiar-Curry. Cecilia, welcome back. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you for having me today. And
It's that time of year where we get to see you on the Highway 80, on the causeway, on the billboards.
yeah, that was
coming and going.
I do love the billboards. It's a really easy way for people to find out what I'm doing and seeing me out there. And
Yeah.
And they're really economical in the long run.
Yeah.
So I just don't like putting up all those signs everywhere, and I just think it's an easy way. And people make comments, and young people send pictures of my to my Instagram saying, "I look who I saw on the highway." And I go, "Oh wow, they're working."
Is it the same picture every time, or is it different?
It has been the past couple of times. It's called cost.
Do you ever think about like switching it up, or
I probably will at some time or another.
making it a little funny?
Yeah. Oh, I would love to make it funny. I'd really like to make it funny, but probably not everybody gets my sense of humor.
No. So it's been about a year since you were on the show last time, and it seems like, I'm always impressed by you because you come on and you make big proclamations and you get it done. I remember the first time was COVID, and we were all locked in on Zoom, spotty Zoom, and you came out with Broadband for all, and now, we have it, huh?
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing.
It was a silver lining, COVID. I mean, it's really sad to say that, but the fact of the matter is that we tried many years trying to get the internet broadband bill across. And until some of my colleagues in Southern California realized they even had pockets of their constituents that didn't have connectivity as well. So that's how that bill actually got across, is that COVID, and people want to make sure that their children didn't miss any school. And then it really prompted us getting into telehealth.
Right.
And the telehealth business is just booming. And probably the best part out of that was the fact that people with needed behavioral health appointments, or they could actually use it on their phone. They could call their psychiatrist or their counselor or whatever, and it worked really well. So I'm really feeling like that we did a big justice for our entire state of California, but particularly the rural communities.
So as I recall last time, we had redistricting. We talked about your district. And for an assembly district, I believe you have 5 counties. Is that right?
Now I have 4.
Okay.
I have 4 full counties, and then I have the town of Sonoma and Boys Hot Springs, which is really nice because it's all contiguous and it's easy to get in and out of all of them. There's a lot of mileage in between cities, and the cities all vary. But it's I do really like how they redistricted a little bit, and it's really nice.
Yeah, you probably maybe have the best assembly district.
I would say so. Yeah, of course I'm going to say that. No, I do. It's so diverse and it's so wonderful. I have, Lake County, where we're really working on, we invested $50 million into the lake, trying to get the health of that lake back up, bring economic development into the community, and working with mental health issues up there. So it's really exciting to see what we've brought to the community, and that they trust us and they believe in us. So, it's pretty exciting what we're doing up there. Yeah.
So at the end of last year, we had a change in speakership, and you were appointed Pro Tem, right?
That's right.
And what was the job as a Pro Tem?
Well, Pro Tem is basically to run the meetings for the speaker. And so pretty much you're herding 80 people and making sure that we can keep the momentum of the meetings moving forward. Trying to make sure that if there needs to be some compromise, we do some compromise, hopefully before we ever get to the floor. But sometimes that doesn't always happen, and people get a little skittish. But the fact of the matter is, it ran really well. We got done before midnight on the last line.
You had the gavel, right?
I had the gavel, and I gavelled people in and out, and I thought we did a really good job. When you first come into a role like that, you're not quite sure how it's going to go. But the leadership team over at the Capitol is really strong, and they're very helpful. And I'm not going to lie, I went over to visit numerous times before I actually had to let the gavel, hit the gavel, just so I made sure I knew what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. We've had the staff here before kind of talk about what they do and the preparations they have. The reading clerk, it's amazing. Behind the scenes there.
Well, you have, pre-session, and you want to make sure making sure we have enough people on the floor. You don't start a meeting until you have at least 41 Dems on the floor, because you never know if you can have a quick vote or not. But so there's a lot of coordination, and I sat up there, and when I first got up there, there's all these buttons.
Yeah, that you can turn people's mics off. Right?
You can turn them on and off. You got to vote for the speaker while you're up there, and yourself, and you've got to make sure you have a head count there, and if there's a difficult bill, you have to have 54 people on the floor. Well, you have to look around and do some counting. So it's a lot.
Yeah. How fun is it to turn the mic off?
I didn't have to do that, luckily.
No.
I gave the old glare at somebody. Don't do that. So anyway, yeah.
So, you ended session, you guys take a break, and now you come back and you have a new role, majority leader.
Right.
What is that?
Well, it's making sure the Democratic caucus is ready to show the bills. We make sure we do vote counts on how many people are going to vote on a bill, basically kind of herding them. But it's really a nice job. We have a lot to do, particularly of procedural messages and motions that we have to do early on in the meetings.
As a lobbyist, you have to get a vote count, and it's really hard to get a member to tell you where they are on a bill sometimes. Is it the same as majority leader?
Actually, I think because a lot of the floor of the Dems trust me, and so I'll ask them for something, or I'll ask them where are they going to go, or do they have any thoughts on a particular bill, so I get some kind of feeling for that. If I need to get the speaker involved, I'll get the speaker involved, but hopefully we don't have to go for those hours and hours and hours waiting for one vote to come across. The intention is to make sure that the floor runs smoothly and that we're part of that, making those decisions early on. So that's what our goal is.
And get all the hurdles out of the way.
Yeah, get the hurdles out of the way and just get down to what policies. Forget about personalities. Just make sure we do good policy.
So if we have quick, easy floor sessions for the rest of the year, you're to thank.
Oh, yeah, I'll take credit for that.
Good. So we just had the bill introduction deadline happen.
We did.
Kind of what's your LGE package looking like this year?
Oh, it's got a little bit of everything. Well, I'm going to work again on a bill that was vetoed by the governor. I had AB 316 last year. I'm bringing it back as AB 2286. And it's all about autonomous trucks, and they want to be testing those on the roads. However, I feel that we need to make sure that roads maintain being safe and that we have a human safety operator in the cab as we're testing these out. And there's a lot of truckers. These people could lose jobs if we just jump right into it. So I want to make sure it's safe. So I'm sure you've gone up and down Highway 80 and you see how many big trucks are on the roadway, and you want to make sure you're going to be safe. And I don't know, we need to collect the data to make sure, are they safe? Do they, any kind of a hindrance we might have of making sure those go forward. So that's basically what the bill does.
Okay, why did it get vetoed last year?
He wants to have more conversations, the governor does, and I am totally on board. Let's sit down and let's talk. I want to make sure that labor's taken care of. I want to make sure my constituents are taken care of, that they're safe on the road. And I think the technology, I love technology, despite what people say, but we have to make sure these work. We've seen too many things happen with other vendors with smaller cars in San Francisco, and I don't want to have that happen on our major freeways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems kind of nuts if you just have trucks driving with no
I know.
To stop
well,
them, right?
we got like 80% of my colleagues voted in favor of the bill. The public's over 75% agree with what we're doing.
Sounds like a movie script.
Yeah, it is.
Speed 3.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I'll be working on that. I'm going to be working on a pregnancy leave for teachers. Right now, there's no codified standard for a pregnancy leave for teachers. So we're going to be working with obviously CTA and others on how we can get this across. They are our sponsors. But as you can imagine, we've got to make sure that teachers have the opportunity to, if they need more time off. So right now, I think the state of California is 6 weeks, and we are going to make sure that teachers...
half pay. 6 weeks of half pay. Yeah.
Well, they get a little bit more, but still, the fact of the matter is we were going to try to get them 14 weeks of pay. And it's the International Labor Organization's minimum standard. So come on. California, step up. Let's
That's
make
what's
sure.
crazy. And you're vice chair of the Women's Caucus, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we just had a baby back in August,
Mhm.
and it's ridiculous what little is done to help women in the workplace. You
Yeah.
get 6 weeks half paid disability,
Right.
and then whatever vacation you have saved up you can use. But when you look at other countries or other states, it's not comparable.
It's not equitable at all. So, that for me is that, we talk about homelessness and housing and things and mental health. There's so many things that we can do. And the first thing we can do is help mommies and daddies be good mommies and daddies, right? And make sure that the infant gets full attention, that there's a roof over their head, there's food on the table, so that we can break the cycle of what we're in with our mental health world that we're in right now. So I'm really anxious to get this one through so that we can help families, particularly our teachers. If we have a workforce shortage with school teachers, and if this encourages them, if they want to start their family but be able to come back and feel safe that their children are great, let's do it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
All for it.
All for it, yeah.
What's next? What's next?
What's next? Well, we'll be working on continuity of mental health care for youth. This bill, I'm really excited. I have a young fellow that's working for me. He was from LA, went to Grinnell College. He's a brilliant young man, and he brought to the surface for all of us is that we need to make sure that high-risk and vulnerable youth keep access to county mental health services as they move from county to county. I had no idea if a youngster lived in LA County and they want to move to Sacramento County, their services don't come right away. And that continuity of health is really important, particularly for mental health. So we're going to try to keep these young people out of the foster care system if we can make sure that they stay at they're in LA and they come up to live with grandma, that healthcare follows them.
So you got a fellow who had a bill idea.
Yeah, and it's so exciting, and he is eloquent. I wish he was here because he's so excited about it, and hopefully we can get that across. But the main thing is that when a child moves between county lines, they lose that access, and I don't want them to lose that access. And I was glad that he brought that forward to us.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, kind of with like telehealth and everything that's moving. It seems like something that'd be feasible to do.
Right. And speaking of telehealth, we'll be doing a telehealth coverage for reproductive healthcare. So we're expanding the access to healthcare, especially reproductive healthcare is a priority. So we're going to be working with Planned Parenthood on getting this bill across. But as you know, is that bills are always a challenge. So we come out with our bill package, and there'll be lots of changes probably in between actually getting them across both floors and going to the governor. So when people hear our bills, whether it's mine or anyone's, take a deep breath. We're going through committees. We're going to try to make stakeholders and constituents have a voice at the table. So those are just a few that we're going to be doing this year.
Do you have leftovers from last year that you're...
I have a couple of leftovers.
Or tinkering on?
I'm always tinkering on something. The most important one, I'm doing ACA 1. It's a constitutional amendment to lower the voter threshold from 2/3 to 55% for infrastructure and affordable housing. This bill is so important because it gives the opportunity for cities or counties or special districts to determine projects they want in their community. And they can run a bond, but there's a lot of guardrails that we have on running the particular bond for a community. So, for instance, if you needed a new fire department and let's say a new sewer system, the city council could determine if we're going to run a bond, but they have to have specific rules on that bond. For instance, they got to make sure they haven't been in bankruptcy before. That we have to make sure that they have a oversight team that will oversight and make sure the money is being spent where it should be. The state will do an audit on an annual basis. There's a lot more to that bill, but the most important part about it is that I think that we need to remember on infrastructure for all communities that 1/3 of the community makes a choice for your community. So that's why I want to bring it down to 55%. We already do it for school boards, and it only makes sense to do it this way. So
that's crazy. So you need 2/3 vote right now to do any sort of spending from a local government.
And not unless it's a general bond. And if it's a general bond for your community, you only need 51%, and you need there's no audit, there's no oversight on it.
So what's a general? What would you use a general bond for? Just
I don't know. It depends upon what the city wants to use it for, but
Interesting.
I'm mostly into these special projects that cities need because people can relate to them. Let's face it, state of California, we do a lot of wonderful things, but we don't take really good care of our local communities. And I think this is the way a local community can say, look, we're going to run our own bond and we're going to run it our way within the parameters of the ACA one. And we'll get our fire department and we'll get our water project. Because when we do these statewide bonds, no one really sees the project.
Right.
Everybody gets bits and pieces of it, but they never see a complete project. So ACA one is really important for infrastructure. You can't build many more housing if you don't have good infrastructure in first.
And it's funny, they always talk about like these third rails we have here. And like to do a lot of stuff, you have to do an ACA, right? You have to go to the voters.
Yeah.
Kind of what is the challenges of doing an ACA?
Oh, well, the first challenge was just getting it out. And it took me 6 years to get it out of the out.
So you've been working on this for a long time. Wow.
Oh, yeah, because I used to be, when I was a mayor and I sat at the dais and we didn't have any tools in a toolbox. Small communities have a real difficult time passing any kind of bond. And although they want something, but they didn't realize it was 2/3. And so it come across as 60%. And I go, and you lost again. So I just realized that we really had to figure out some kind of tool in the toolbox. And this is going to work for everything from special districts, fire districts, cemetery districts. They all can take advantage of this, provided they go through the guardrails that we have.
Right.
So I highly recommend anybody taking a look at ACA 1 and we're going to have a additional accountability measures on the bill. So we're going to be having to present those to my colleagues, and we have to get a 2/3 vote to get that out as well. There's a lot to it, and you can only imagine. So we have hundreds and hundreds of supporters on these, and there's always going to be those naysayers.
Yeah, what about that Howard Jarvis?
Yeah, they're going to be at me, but
Peter Blocker.
All those
people are after you.
They'll all be after me, but that's okay. I mean, that's what democracy is about, right? You got to show both sides of it. But I think we have a path to be successful, and we have to work on that all summer long.
So this is like really important to rural communities, right?
All communities. I mean, when you see these landslides in some of our most prominent communities, they're going to need new infrastructure in there, and who's going to pay for that and how that's going to be paid. But if they put together a bond within their community, they can get it if they get 55% of the vote.
Right.
So this to me is so silly. It's just like 2/3 to get it down to 55 is still super majority.
Yeah, it's not 51. It's not 50 plus 1. It's 55. How did you derive at 55?
I wanted to do it similar to the school bonds because school bonds people can relate to and know the importance of a school bond. And that's why why stir up the pot? Let's make it, even across the board, and everybody can go, oh yeah, it's at 55%. Not to say, we're going to do infrastructure projects at 57. No.
And so to get that on this upcoming ballot, what do you need to pass it by June or?
So we got it all the way through. The companion bill we have to get through sooner than later. So we'll be proposing those to the committees soon. But quite frankly, we're already going to be on the.
So you already got one part of it on.
We already got it. But again, it took me 6 years to do it. So I had to have 2/3 in the Assembly, 2/3 in the
Which
Senate.
one was harder, the Assembly or the Senate to get your 2/3?
The Assembly.
Is that right? Okay.
There's 80. There's 80 people. So that took a little bit longer. But, once they realized that we were going to put a lot of guardrails in it and that we were going to ultimately protect the city so that they wouldn't go bankrupt or there wouldn't be anything else that could happen to them, that's when they started, and when they're pressured into, they need housing.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have housing, you need infrastructure. So, and it helps the schools. And
yeah, it's all entangled.
It's all entangled.
It's funny. I remember when Newsom took office, what was that, like 2016? And he said we needed to build all these houses and all that stuff. And it's like, it seems like everything's, we've focused on it so much, but it's gotten so much harder to do.
Oh, well, I will say that the past year, 2 years, we've really moved some things into streamlining. And with the leadership of Assemblymember Buffy Wicks, we've really done some really good work that's out there, and it's just being implemented now. Everybody wants something fixed today, but you have to take some time. And so we're on our way to do some really good housing projects, I think, throughout the state of California.
So you're known for being in your district, engaging with your community, your community coffees. You probably have one of them like most interesting, diverse kind of communities out there. Kind of what are you hearing out there in the community? Like what are people concerned of, and what are they bugging you about?
Insurance. Insurance is a big one. And we recently had a really nice discussion with Insurance Commissioner Laura, and I have full confidence that we're working in the right direction. It's going to take some time. Again, it's like everybody wants it changed right away, but they're looking at how to calculate insurance formulas differently, and so they're working on that. Insurance is big, and right now the AT&T landline is really at the forefront because many of my communities are in rural communities and they depend upon a landline because they still don't have good internet connectivity and broadband. So that's a big one that's on our mind right now. Homelessness is still at the top, but it's also healthcare. And people are really concerned about healthcare and how we can deliver it at a more economical quality price. And will always be there. Mental health. How can we help? Prop 1 I highly recommend people voting for Prop 1. We've got to redo things that haven't worked really well in the past. There are some really good players in this mental health field, and there's some that have not done the right thing for their community. So I think this will kind of consolidate and have us look at it differently.
Yeah, and you have to deal, I guess, with the gamut of insurance. 'Cause it's not only homeowners insurance and property insurance, but you have like livestock insurance and agricultural insurance. I'm here
Fire insurance. Yeah. Well, it's disheartening when you hear about some of our community members that have did the hardening of their homes so that they could get their insurance rates lowered, and then when they applied or when they got their insurance rates, they had gone up. So maybe we should look at incentivizing those that have done the hardening and that they really tried to take care of it. So we'll see what happens. But there's a lot out there right now.
It seems like, in the last, 2 years, Roe v. Wade being overturned, and abortion, it just keeps getting weirder and weirder out there. We just had Alabama ban the storage of embryos or something like that. So like even taking IVF, you're hearing like birth control might be next. Getting bizarre and bizarre.
I never thought I'd be fighting this. My children, years ago, this was so, not out there. And now it's so difficult. And, with the Alabama ruling, it breaks my heart because there are plenty of people that have been needing to take advantage of the IVR. And I really think that we're overstepping a family's opportunity here. And so the Women's Caucus will be coming out with a statement here later today and determining so that my phone was just blown up today. It's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, we're going to respond to it.
Right.
So.
I remember talking to Dr. Weber like right before it, and it's kind of like, well, we're in California. Like, what does it matter to us? We do the right thing here, right? And she pointed out, well, like people are going to be coming here and accessing our stuff, and it's going to raise the cost and things like that. So it's the unintended consequences. Just unintended consequences. Crazy Alabama, let them do whatever they want.
Well, when you get a phone call from your daughter who moves to Nashville, and the phone call is, Mom, one of my friends has to have a DNC, and she can't get it done here in Nashville, and it broke my heart.
Really, in like a big city.
Yeah. Nope,
wow.
They couldn't do it there. So she had to go out of state. Like, really? That is a medical procedure to save the mother's life or the woman's life. And so you don't realize what we have here in California until you move.
Yeah. No, it's just amazing. We're just going backwards.
We are going backwards.
In some areas.
Oh, in some areas. But, there's so much hope here. And I think that there's so many, particularly the Women's Caucus, they really work hard on childcare and trying to make sure families stay together, and I think that's what we have to do is a proactive approach of how we break the cycle.
Right. So we just had the bill introduction. Committee hearings are going to start, and then kind of budget season comes. Like we're kind of getting kind of bad budget news. Kind of what are you hearing about the budget? How do you think it's going to kind of affect the district and kind of the state in general?
It's going to be tough. And everybody has to make cutbacks, and it's really hard when people come in and they pitch a bill to you, particularly during the past couple of weeks, and you have to say to them mentally and to their face, they say, so I have three things. What's the problem? How do you fix it? How do you implement it? Implementation costs money, and I need to find out how much you think it's going to cost. They have no idea, but couldn't you use the money over here and move it over here? No, you can't do that. It's not that way. So I've been really, really hesitant with many of those that come in with these multi-million-dollar projects, and some of them are pie in the sky, and some of them are really well-meaning.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that what we have out there right now, that we follow up and make sure those are working. Anything with childcare, I don't want childcare money to be moved. I want to make sure that childcare workforce is taken care of, because that's where it's going to all start off. So we're trying to protect buckets of money that we know that are out there, but it'll be interesting to see. We just were told yesterday, again, we're in a bigger deficit than we thought. So we have to be very thoughtful, and there's certain areas that we don't want to touch.
Right. Because it's interesting, like, I guess the LAO said it's worse than they thought, and the governor's saying, it's not that bad.
Yeah. And, flip a coin.
Right.
But, let's prepare for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And, I only have hope that we'll get through this, but we have to make sure that we keep the economy going, making sure that jobs are here in the state of California, encourage businesses to continue to start here and not leave.
Mm-hmm.
So the economy is a big piece if we're going to make sure we get ourselves out of the deficit.
Yeah. What was your 3 things? That was a good thing.
Oh, what's the problem?
What's the problem?
How do you fix it?
How do you fix it?
How do you implement it?
So if we come to your office with an idea, that's what we have to prepare to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing is that when people are coming and they want to change a bill that was just not even in implementation yet, and they want to add something else on it, my heart just stops. I just go, can we make sure we get it implemented first before you start adding on layers and layers? Because agencies were asking them to help implement some of these bills, and they're just trying to figure out how they're going to implement it, and then someone adds on something on top, and it just makes it very convoluted. So I really think that we need to make sure we get these implementations done. With the new speaker, he's phenomenal for so many reasons for me, but number one is that he really wants accountability. He wants transparency, and he wants to make sure that we get our bills implemented, because many times we take hard votes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, people are putting us down, like, remember SB1, the gas tax?
Right.
People really got after us for that one. But you know what? We implemented it, and we could prove it to our communities, because every city and every county got something out of that money. And so it's really important that we implement them. And that's why we're all going to be successful.
Yeah. So you've been here for 6 years now?
Oh, I know. Can you believe it?
So you're going into 8. Wow. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, you think 12 years, like, that's plenty of time.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people, who just termed out are saying, like, yeah, we did all this stuff, but like, is it implemented? Is it working?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they are asking that right now. They're going, it never got implemented. So
thing I didn't know about it, like, you might get something in the budget and you actually might not get the money until years later or ever, and it gets clawed back. So it's like, wow. Like,
yeah. Never make promises. It's the hard thing is that we've had opportunity to get some money into our districts, and it's really hopeful that it actually gets to them in a timely manner, because they're depending on us.
Right. So like, you probably have like the best restaurants in the state in your district, some of the best eating, right?
I do.
Kind of, what are some of your favorites that, might not a lot of us not know about, but, we should definitely check out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have so many. It just depends upon my mood. Well, in winters I have, we have the Buckhorn Pewter Creek Cafe, the Preserve. We have a hub of really good food in winters, so I don't have to go too far. But I go to Napa. Bistro Jante is one of my favorite. Mustards is one of my favorites.
Hard to miss, yeah.
Yeah, Fox and Goose. I think that's a Fox and I'm trying to think of, it's in St. Helena. Oh, I'm going to be killed. It's my employee's husband's place. Fox and, anyway, it's delicious. It's in St. Helena.
That's what we need, the Cecilia Aguiar-Curry food tour.
Oh, yeah, more than happy to help you out. But, that was one thing during COVID that was so disheartening to me. Those wonderful businesses struggling, and they add to the economic vibrance of so many of these towns, whether it's Napa, St. Helena, Calusa, wherever it could be. And when they were struggling, I was struggling with it, trying to figure out how can we get them, keep the business going. And so when we figured of outside dining, that helped so many of our communities. So you always had to think outside the box while we were doing that period of time.
Is it back, or is the tourism back to where it was?
Yeah, it's really coming back. Yeah, it's there's still some struggles. Some businesses aren't open 7 days a week, but they're open now 5 days, which is better. Some are 6 days, and I think that they really thought it through when they had some of the money from COVID. Some really used it really well.
Has the population grown a lot in the district? Because like a lot of people move from cities into the rural areas.
There's more people working, living in the rural areas, but it really depends upon if they had internet. And my little community of Winters, we thought this one subdivision wouldn't grow for 10, 20 years, and it popped up in a blink of an eye. People are working from home. They're from the Bay Area, and they'll work at home for 2 or 3 days, and then they go into the city and do their magic there, and then they come back.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to see something crazy, go on Highway 80 on Thursday nights, eastbound. Some might be going to the snow, but a lot of them are going to their homes in El Dorado Hills and Folsom and wherever else.
If you could just fix that extra lane on the causeway.
Well,
just, you know, 6 more years.
6 more years. I got 6 more years to fix it. Yeah.
That'd be wonderful. Well, the mustard's blooming.
Yeah.
It's time to go. Everyone get out, check out Cecilia's district. It's the most beautiful time of the year.
Oh, it's beautiful. Or go up to Cape Bay Valley. If you want to see something beautiful, go up to Yochadihi and go see all the olive oil stand up there, and all the almonds are in blossom. This Sunday's the Cape Bay Valley Almond Festival. It's spectacular. Spectacular. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Sounds like you
welcome.
got your work cut out for you.
And
we'll be seeing you on the highways.
Yeah, you will. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thanks,
your time.